This is Movies, a podcast by the Act of Cinema, and with me today, wouldn't you know it, he picked the movie out. He's been excited about it for a number of years. Of course, it's Hans. Hans, how are you
Hello.
doing tonight?
Good. Honestly, I saw this movie today. This was purchased differently that we usually do. This was not from a Costa Rican movie theater. This was more of a, let's say, Asian, more clandestine, more dark web purchase that you did. But up to today, before I watched it, and even though we've talked about this movie like 5 different times, I still didn't remember what this movie was about when I started watching it. And I was like, I
Well,
don't,
what is
I
the
was
movie
this a
about?
documentary?
I watched the whole movie twice because I had to watch it and sit and pay attention to it, and then I ripped you a copy, which I had to use my VCR for, which is why the quality on your version was not amazing. And I still don't quite understand. The movie we're talking about, it's a rare film. Less than 100 people have watched this movie before, and it's from a major director. We kind of teased it a bit on the last show. It's the 2022 Kevin Smith film, Kilroy Was Here. And after watching it, actually, really, I didn't even have to watch the whole thing. I got about 30 minutes in. And maybe this is being generous. Maybe it was more like 10 minutes in.
Yep.
I understood why he took the approach he did in terms of releasing this movie. Because, frankly, this film is unacceptable. It
Yep.
is not something that should have been put out to the public. And it's not, I have trouble reckoning with the fact that it's now technically a feature film in one of my favorite directors' filmographies. And obviously, I'm quite generous to Kevin Smith. You, not so much. I had Clerks 3 at number 12 for the best films of 2022. Nobody else did that. I did that. And this came out the same year. And a little bit of background on it. Kevin Smith got into the NFT game because he realized, oh, this is a burgeoning new development in the web and in trends, and there's a lot of money to be made, and you don't hear about NFT. Cut to 2 years later, nobody really gives a shit about NFTs anymore. The NFT thing, people predicted it was a fad. They thought it was a scam, and it has been a self-fulfilling prophecy in that sort of way. It's not the same thing as crypto. There has to be a generated amount of interest in it for it to succeed. And I feel like that interest fell off hard in 2023. And so you had people like Kevin Smith or Sam Hyde or whoever. They would put out the NFTs, they would charge tons of money for it. And then whoever bought the NFT, it's like a Beanie Baby. It's like a Pokemon card. What is it worth now? Well, the worth of it is generated only by, I think, the interest in that as a topic, as a subject, as a form of currency in a way. And so, what is this movie worth to you, Hans?
55 minutes that I'm not getting back. 55 minutes of a lot of just, why does this exist? Why is this?
I
I
can
don't
tell you why it
understand.
exists. I think it's very obvious what was the situation here. And then I looked it up, and that seemed to be confirmed. It's he decided he wanted to do a bunch of little short films and then strung it together, and it does not come together as a movie. It has no, and honestly, that Kilroy character feels pretty shoehorned into most of those shorts. So this is supposed to be an anthology slasher film, which that idea, everybody has had that idea. If you have an interest in horror, if you want to do your own slasher character, or maybe you're a fan of Jason or Michael, everybody likes the idea, in theory, of let's take a slasher character and instead of doing one long narrative movie, let's Twilight Zone it. Let's do 4 or 5 shorts featuring the character, and that'll be the film. And it's
You know
not a
why you know why, right? Because it's easier to come up with 5 disconnected short films that don't really uh, communicate with each other, let's say. Five completely unrelated short films where our villain or hero, because at the end is kind of we don't really know if he's a villain or a hero. I think it's
Well, he has no. There's
he
no
he's kind no
straightforward
lore, nothing. Yeah.
logic to how this character operates because he hates kids and then he loves kids.
Yeah.
He's saving the
He's
kids.
confused.
Why?
Yeah.
Because Kevin Smith had a day where he hated Donald Trump a little extra and was just like, you know what? And we'll do the priest touch it like it's 1998.
Yeah.
I'm
Well, there
sorry.
was also
What?
a line. There's a line that I wrote down that was the little blonde boy. He was like, oh, my daddy says that Santa is real. And then the little black girl says, hold on, what the fuck is it? She goes, your dad is a dirty Republican liar. And I was like, because he says Santa is real? Like that felt so, you know what I mean? Like the response to what he said felt so over the top. And I was like, oh, this was definitely not shot recently, or at least it felt so dated by that line alone. But there was a lot of like shoehorned little things like that I was very bothered by. But the point that I was trying to make is that to go along with what you're saying about how this was just an easy cash grab, and he was trying to take advantage of his fans, as he does with every, let's be real, as he does with every project that he's put out for the past 10, 15 years.
Well, hold
He's
on.
been
I didn't say take advantage of his fans. Now
I'm saying
maybe
it.
you're saying it. Okay, you're
Yeah.
saying it.
Be-
You think the
be-
NFT thing is people taking advantage of their fans?
yes, because if you look at what was put out, fucking, can you finish the audio? You're selling this shit. The credits or like the little title cards, that shit was horrendous. Like it looked so amateur. It looked like something that a couple of friends got together and shot without having any knowledge of how to light a scene, without having any knowledge on how to direct actors, because only that Ralph Garman, whatever his name is, was the only believable character here, at least I think. Even
You're
though he
saying he's
was obviously
believable as
playing
a
the
pedophile?
he was playing the over the top cheeky whatever, but I don't think the direction here was anything special, which is weird to say because the strength of Kevin Smith movies are usually the script. This was there even a script? Who knows? But this just felt like such an unfinished thing. This felt like something that maybe he shot in a day or two, and then he was like, "Well, I have my fans that will support any piece of shit that I put out, so let's get some money for this thing." Because the fact that he didn't even finish the sound is horrible. I don't know if it's because of how it was ripped, but
I might have
if
had something to do with that. I mean, when I watched it on my television and I got a disc of it, I had to purchase a physical media copy of this thing, which I'm fine with that. It's better that I pay for a physical copy than a digital copy. Certainly feel better about that I can own it forever. But
Mhm.
the sound didn't really stick out to me as especially poor, but there was nothing going on with many of those scenes. So it's entirely possible that it was the version that I gave you. But what is the issue with the sound in your instance here that you're citing?
Well, just that it just doesn't sound finished. It doesn't sound mixed. It just
Hmm.
sounds like it all feels like an unfinished project that he didn't care for at all, but
Yeah.
decided that he needed something to put out there because this NFT thing is hot.
Yep.
So what are we going to do? Let's grab the Kilroy character, which has a very simple Ziggy. I don't know if you remember Ziggy the
I
cartoon.
do.
Ziggy like design, not creepy, not scary at all. I don't know why he got the idea that this would be a good character to create this monster out of. Don't understand. The mask is kind of bad too. So whenever we see him, it's a very stiff mask that doesn't move. So there's nothing creepy about it. It's more like,
To your
oh, a
point
cover.
about when you were talking about the lighting, that could have improved a hell of a lot if you lit that better than what
Yep.
he wound up doing, but he didn't. You have, I think it's what? It's four shorts that are in this because you have the Harley Quinn Smith getting cheated on by her
Yeah.
boyfriend, one.
Uh-huh.
You have the Latina girl, the Santa Claus, the little kids
Yep.
down in Florida.
You have the
You
daughter.
have Chris
The daughter that's
Jericho.
sick. Okay, yeah.
who's
The
playing
Chris Jericho one.
he's not a pedo hunter, he's just a gay guy hunter. You see the trend
Yeah.
on YouTube these days of people trying to play Chris Hansen, and they wind up being as unlikable as the pedophiles themselves. Usually,
Or
as you
worse.
watch, yeah,
Yeah.
as you watch those videos, they're so off-putting and overly moral with their justification, and kind of taking like evil delights in being able to punish someone who's already like the lowest of the low of humanity.
Yeah.
I think if it's just kind of, you could just take their photo and put the video out and not be super, super evil. Not like,
Yeah.
now call your wife on the phone and tell her you're going to
Yeah.
fuck a 15-year-old. Am I an officer of the law?
No.
No. I
Do you
can't
have
do
to
anything. I
say
can get
no?
$60 in YouTube monetization off this video. That's about all
It's
I can do. But do it.
those are always so funny to me because of that same reason. You could just be like, I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna walk away. What are they gonna do? Nothing. Like there's no, they have the zero power over you, and the fact that they do that is so just so funny.
Well, what you
That part I
realize,
think is so funny.
the Canadian ones are especially good because the guys are always like so retarded, so like out of the loop, like, huh? What? And then you have like these aggressive, like, I assume they're like Alaskan or Native American. No, I mean, they're not American, but the native people tend to
Yeah,
be the
yeah,
ones who do this. And it's sort of like, yeah, just fuck you. I'm gonna destroy your life on camera for my audience of 40,000 people. And Kevin Smith, I mean, obviously he destroyed his own life by trying to fuck a minor. I'm not endorsing that whatsoever, but we're just speaking to the unlikability of these types of people who use that as content. Chris Hansen had a much more, he had tact, he had
yeah.
a
That one,
charm.
that
You could
one was
watch those
nuanced,
endlessly.
and that one was nuanced, and the guy still killed himself. So,
Yeah, yes, yeah, yeah. It's
so
shocking. It's shocking that hasn't happened
yeah,
with some of these because they really are just full throttle. I'm going to tear your life to shreds. So Kevin Smith takes one of these types of characters, makes it Chris Jericho, makes him a backwoods Louisiana redneck, and he's not even a pedo hunter. He's just a gay guy hunter. And then the wife avenges him, and she's like, I encouraged him to suck dick. Now,
okay, I didn't get that because I was very confused by that scene because I didn't understand the gay thing. I thought he was still a pedo hunter. So when he gets trapped and the wife is like, he was a really nice man. Um, he had urges, and I was like, is she defending the fact that his husband is trying to like fuck a child? Now it makes sense that it's like, no, he
whoa,
was just like gay.
that would be
Yeah.
actually hilarious if Chris Jericho tried to dress up as a minor. That would be That would have been the
Yeah.
funniest fucking way
Yeah.
to handle it. He
Yeah.
should. Kevin Smith, you're welcome to steal that idea if you ever want to revise this horrible movie. But
Because
no,
that was one of the confusing things about this movie to me, that who am I supposed to be rooting for? Am I supposed to be caring for any of these unlikable people here? Like no one had anything redeeming of them. You have a girl that's sick and her mom takes care of her, but then her mom takes her the what is it called? The spotlight from her. So then she's jealous and she calls Kilroy to kill her mom because she's jealous of her. Not likable character. Okay, the next one. Yeah, you have his daughter, right, with the boyfriend, and the boyfriend's like cheating on her, or she wants to find out if she's cheating on her. So she trains her baby sister to think that the next person that's going to knock on the door is Kilroy, so just go stab it. And then that happens somehow, and the little girl stabs the guy, and then she's like, haha, you were cheating on me. I told you I was gonna kill you. So then it's like, okay, so who am I rooting for?
hmm
The girl that was psycho enough to do like train her little baby girl to stab someone because her boyfriend might have been cheating on her, or the boyfriend that might have been cheating on her or might have not. We don't know. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
there was no one that you could care for. Everyone was so disposable that then whenever the monster would show up, and a couple of, I guess, gory kills that honestly kind of looked really low budget and bad. Um why am I supposed like what am I supposed to feel other than indifference whenever that happens when you haven't set up anyone to root for and instead everyone's just kind of unlikable and selfish.
Well, it's because what I was saying before is there's no rhyme or reason to why this character does what he does. Even the origin of the character doesn't quite mesh with what we see play out or what his motivations are. And I don't mind necessarily if you want to flip the script in a thought out way where it's like we start out not liking Kilroy, but maybe we're on his side. By that could be a subversive thing if done correctly. But it's very clear he just picked up the camera here's what I actually think it is. I think he talked himself into this idea of Kilroy, similar to what he did with Tusk. And he thought, all right, there's something to this. And then he shot one of these. And maybe it wasn't even intended to be a short at first. Maybe not. I don't know. And then realized, oh, this doesn't have as much juice as I thought. I better bow out. And then a couple of years passed, and he thought, maybe I'll do a Kilroy short. Maybe we'll do something with this. I don't know. Let's do it again. And then he did that. And then around 2019 or so, I remember hearing, oh, yeah, Kevin Smith's working on a new slasher film. Kilroy was here, and he's using, I think it was like FSU students or some school, I believe, down in Florida. He was using them for crew members because they could get college credit from working on his set and aiding that production. Which, cool, all right, fine. But then there's radio silence. And then in 2022, there's a trailer that drops for this thing. And we all watch it. And I remember it was like maybe it wasn't even 2022. I feel like it was during Civic TV that we saw a trailer to this thing. So it was actually probably 2020 or 2021. And it didn't look good. It didn't look on the level of a Tusk or a Red State. And it was full of Harley Quinn Smith. And I don't think she gives a bad performance in this, but there's that air of, well, we haven't seen you act in anyone else's films. And so there's that instinct to be a bit more critical due to that nepotism, sort of like Judd Apatow's wife. When she's only acting in the his daughter, when they're only acting in the family projects, then it's like, well, you're unproven and there's a stink on you from that. And it's hard to get around. So this does come out as an NFT, and I got special features on my Blu-ray disc of, here's what your NFT does. Here's your special Kilroy. And it was like the chimp ape thing, whatever the fuck that is, whatever. You know, they had that pop up, and Kilroy was wearing like sunglasses in one, and he had, I think, a farmer's pitchfork in another, and there were all these Kilroy variations and behind the scenes footage, and they added some podcasts that he appeared on to promote this movie, some crypto NFT space programs that are on YouTube. 6 out of 10 on IMDb. You got to be shitting me. Wow. I think that's higher than Frogman last week. So, anyhow, this comes together ultimately as a 64-minute. Here's your Kilroy NFTs. Wow. Which one do you like the most? Is it the last one that appeals to your Asian side?
Yeah, what's this one? It's got rabbit ears.
He's got frog ears.
Tattoo.
Frog eyes.
I mean, frog, yeah.
Why does that Kilroy have zits and a hammer?
Yoda. Yeah, I don't... is it references? Because here you have Yoda. That's Prince's jacket, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And then the propeller hat. I don't know what that is.
Why does he have zits? I didn't see any zits on Kilroy in this movie. There's nothing about him being a pimply-faced teenager.
No, he had like boils, right?
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing that. I just remember seeing the latex head. Smooth latex.
No, he had like... Oh, did I get deleted already? I hated this shit so much. Did I already delete this shit off my computer?
You know, people would kill for that, Hans. I think people paid $5,000 to get a copy of the movie.
Oh, my fucking God. What the fuck? That sound. Sorry.
Now, I didn't. Let's be clear. I was not one of those people. But certainly the 75 or so who paid for the NFT did it to get the movie because they thought this would be something of value in the long term.
Okay, here it is.
Okay, we're taking a
You
look
see
at
the
Kilroy
boils?
here and
Yeah,
Squidward.
it's got boils. Yeah, exactly. It's that Squidward.
The mouth doesn't move at all. It's literally just a
No,
Halloween mask. Okay.
it's
Again,
a little wet.
if you lit this a bit better, and not better as in more, but darker and more strategic and shadowy, it would look a hell of a lot better and you could pull it off easier.
It also because of the way that it's shot too, it's not a very imposing monster. And when you have a face that's that goofy, it's not gonna be scary, you know. It's a very like an oversized nose over a mouth, and it's got boils.
Hmm.
Sure, it's got no eyes, so c- ooh, but there's no physicality to it because whenever he shows up, I guess to not show the costume, he just shows up there. Like he's already there when you see him. So there's no feel to his size. There's no feel to any type of intimidation from holy shit, this giant guy might show up and cut my head off with a machete. No, he just kind of shows up and he's there already. So whatever suspense that might happen from expecting him to show up doesn't exist because the monster is just a goofy looking monster that doesn't really have any type of like physicality to it. So then it's just why am I afraid of it? Because it kills
Because he's
but
got a
then likes
knife and he
children.
killed the chickens and went insane in the Vietnam War.
Oh yeah.
Why? 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 I
Oh
don't.
yeah, he killed. What was it? A 100 yards around, he murdered everyone or something like that. Something ridiculous like that. It's like why? Like why? That seems like unnecessary. Like just
Mhm.
you have an army fighting you. Like what the? It's just weird, like lazy word building.
It's
It's like what?
extremely lazy. And I
It's like
don't
what
even
can
think
we?
that this movie, I don't think it reflects Kevin Smith as a director because the real problem here is the lack of care. It's just
Mhm.
disinterest in preparing something that is on a professional grade and level. And I do fully believe what you said, which is that he saw the NFT trend, he had this Kilroy project lying around, and thought, okay, I can't do anything with this otherwise. There's no way I could sell this to Saban Films or Lionsgate and put this out in theaters and feel good about myself. So what I'll do is I will release it through this venue where very few people are ever going to see it. And on top of that, I can rack up a bunch of money, probably way more money than I spent making the film because those students probably didn't get paid. They were working
Mhm.
for a credit for school, which is a form of payment, sure. But he didn't spend any money out of pocket aside from
Yeah.
that $80 Kilroy mask and getting Chris Jericho and some stars in the movie. So I have no doubt in my mind that doing it as an NFT exchange was a profitable venture for him.
It's just kind of gross, you know, because again, I think he's been able to uh monetize his following better than I don't think any other director when it comes to social media and your website uh because of how he interacts with his audience and how he's very open about what he likes and how that's usually pretty much everything and how he's just willing to talk about geek shit at a perfect time because if he started to do that now, I don't think the following would be as strong as it still is. But the reason why I think it's so gross is because there's, like you said, a complete lack of care for anything in this movie, and you can tell that everyone just seems to be moving through the motions. No one's really. You said that Harley wasn't that bad. I think she was okay for most of the movie. I think the last 10 minutes when she goes crazy,
Oh yeah.
she's horrendous. She's horrible. But the thing that's the most disappointing for that same reason that I'm sure that you know you're a huge fan of him, like you said. I was a huge fan of him because of how much I knew he cared for about his projects and how much of himself he would put into his projects and how passionate he was about, like, even if the studio doesn't want to make give him money, I want to make this, so I'll figure out how to make money or how to get the money. I'll get a job. I'll do blah 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 blah, so that I can make my movie. That speaks to me as someone that's very passionate about their art and just want to put their art out there for whoever wants to see. This is the complete opposite of that. Like, this goes
Uh-huh.
against everything that his career has been, because he's using his name and the recognition of his name to take advantage of people that are willing to give him money, and apparently not small amounts of money, to support something that he obviously did not care about. Not even enough to finish it, not even enough to, like I said, light it properly. Hey, let's take a take 3 or 4 so that, like, we can have a better line delivery for this, or, let's get a better mask, or let's work on building this monster. Hey, how about let's work on some consistency on this script, because sometimes the monster kills bad people, and sometimes he just decides to kill a Latina teacher that's just nice to everyone, but he just kills her because why not? So there's so little care put into every aspect of this thing that I feel like it goes completely against the reason why people have supported him for so many years. And it's just, yeah, just kind of gross.
Well, I think the script is inconsistent because it wasn't written all in one go. It was probably written in 30-page clusters over a period of about 4 5 years, maybe. And I think the biggest missing element with this movie, and it could have helped clear up a ton of the inconsistency issues regarding Kilroy's motivation as a slasher character and what we're supposed to feel about him, is there's no wraparound segment. The closest thing to that is a Harley Quinn Smith short that is featured at the beginning and at the end. But if we had something that we could jump into in intervals and go back to, a narrator, a storyteller, they try to set her up as that, but then she's completely disregarded, and her thing just comes
Yeah.
back around as more bookends than a sort of framework to this movie. Then
Mhm.
I think we're probably going in a better direction. Although I will admit, we posed the question when we were talking about Frogman last week. Could this have been saved in editing? And I think it could have been improved in editing, but I don't think there was any saving this project. I think it was going to be. I think it was bad at the root, and it was just going to be something that was really poor regardless. I think without a doubt, I can say confidently that this is the worst film Kevin Smith has ever directed and released.
Mhm.
There are TV
Yeah.
show episodes, procedural TV episodes that are far higher in quality than this movie. And I hate to say that, but you're asking for it. When you put out a movie like this and it's completely unreleasable, you're asking for it. And then you charge people
Mhm.
to watch it in the fashion that you did. I think you are completely opening yourself up to be criticized for that, because it's not an even exchange.
Yeah. It's and okay, I don't know. I can't imagine of a valid excuse for any of this. Because if you think about this script, okay, fine, you wrote it in segments of 30 pages every couple of years or whatever. You can still give it a read at the end before you shoot it and realize that it's bad, and realize that there's no beginning, no middle, there's no end, there's no the closure makes absolutely no sense, because the thing just, fuck it, let's spoil it. The monster just holds the little sister's hand and walks away into the darkness.
Right. His character arc is he hates children and then he loves children.
Well, the character arc starts with he was sent to Vietnam and he killed a bunch of people and he was insane. And then that's never mentioned again. That never becomes a factor of anything again. Just that he wears, like, I guess, an old army uniform
No,
ish.
there's nothing on theme with that. With the kill, like you could call his character anything. The fact he's the Kilroy
Yeah.
iconography, it has no difference, no bearing at all. He tries to set it up with, well, Kilroy was in the war and they said this and
Yeah.
that, and then somehow his face just mirrored this fucking little cartoon character from World War II. And then they never go back to it. He doesn't hunt soldiers. He doesn't hunt enemy
No.
soldiers or Vietnamese people. That would be, I mean, If you really wanted to go back, make him like a Nazi hunter or something. But
Yeah,
you know,
something.
for some reason, he inexplicably hates children, according to Harley Quinn Smith's character. You don't say his name. You say he's
Right.
Beetlejuice, I guess. You say his name 3 times, and he'll just spring up during your church ceremony. Which
Candyman.
that felt like the most shoehorned ever, because what I don't understand. It seemed like he wanted to do. Hey, I just watched The Sixth Sense again, and I remember the mom poisoning the daughter. What if we did that? And then Kilroy just pops up and kills everybody. That sounds really shit. And the acting in that one's so bad and cartoonish, and
Oh,
it
the
reminded me
look of
of
it. It looks
the
so hideous too. The
yeah.
colors, the way, oh, it's just so ugly.
It
Just
felt like he was
so
going for, if you remember in Stand By Me, they cut away for a bit as a story is being told about a character named Lardass. And it felt like he wanted to do something like that. And all the characters are exaggerated in that Lardass segment of the movie because it's a child's story. And he's giving a
yeah.
very and it makes sense for that. It's all intentional, but it feels like he wanted to do something like that with this part of the movie, and it you don't do that for almost 20 minutes. It sucks. It's so
No.
bad. And then after that, I feel like we're missing one here. Is there
So you
one
have
we
the
haven't talked
teacher.
about? The teacher.
So
Okay,
you have
so
so the first one's the little girl that's sick or whatever, or with her mom. Then you have the Latin American teacher with the black girl and the blonde boy, right?
mhm.
Who gets killed for whatever reason. Then after that, we go to Chris Jericho.
No, I think
Am I
Chris
missing another
Jericho
one?
is the penultimate segment. We go to Ralph
Hold on,
Garman's.
let me see.
So he's really in the midst of a political fury when he's shooting this movie, because and you don't see this in Clerks 3, which came out the same year. It was finished the same year, 2022, but I presume was shot after all of this, because this started shooting, I believe, in 2018 or 2017. So it is very much a reflection of the Trump administration and how America was. It is definitely Trump era art. And I
So
say that
the
only in
priest
the
was the one.
worst ways imaginable. Because honestly, there's really nothing good that came out of that period of time. 2016, that was the last year. And then we have a void until about 2019 or 2020.
So the priest was the one we were missing. So it goes Harley Quinn, uh,
The teacher.
girl that's sick,
Yep.
the teacher, um, the one I just said that I already forgot. What was it? Fuck. Oh, the preacher, and
Hmm.
then the Chris Jericho is the
So
last one.
let's set up real quick what the Ralph Garman preacher bit is. It's
Okay.
they decide to take Latin children who are new to the country on camping trips to molest them, but they're not actually camping. They're just going to stay at a seedy motel. And apparently, the lighting in every motel room is a neon green color.
Hmm.
And there's like he goes up to the counter of a convenience
It's
store,
because
and he's like, well, he starts talking about he quotes Trump. He says shithole countries, and he's
oh
like, oh
yeah.
yeah, this and that, and luckily God doesn't care about skin color. And this 40-year-old convenience store clerk is like, actually, when I came to this country a couple years ago, some preachers took me on a camping trip too, and I know what you're up to. I was like, what? When you were fucking 25? Are you just a gay guy then? You're not a victim,
A-
pal.
And then he, uh, for whatever reason, someone wrote the word Kilroy on in the front of the counter. So not something that he could have done because it was like past the counter, the front. So we would have to go upside. Anyway, he makes a point to point at the name Kilroy and says, instead of calling the fucking police, instead of getting involved, he just says, "Oh, scary, help, here, Kilroy, help, say Kilroy 3 times or whatever."
Hmm.
And the little boys just look confused because, I mean, wouldn't you be confused if someone just says Kilroy and you don't speak the language? You're just
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, oh yeah, I'll just say this and I won't get diddled by this man, I guess. thanks. You know what's gonna happen to me? You're just gonna send me hoping that the Kilroy thing was real. Uh, then they go to a motel, and the priest gets together with a couple of other priests, and they drink together. And then he comes back to the room, and when he comes back to the room, the two little boys are inside of a tent on top of the bed. And the priest starts being cheeky, just like being cheeky about how what is it? There's a line that stuck with me. He was like, "Oh, if God wanted to stop this, he would have stopped it." Like something very, very obvious, very like, "Oh, fucking
Yeah, very
okay, we
surface
get
level
it."
thinking.
Yeah.
Kevin Smith, his politics must have just froze on 1998 when the Catholic Church went after Dogma, because it all feels very not modern politics. It's like, hey, he's the, and that carries over into the Chris Jericho one, as we were talking about, where he's just
Yeah.
outing gay guys. Like, no one gives a shit. Nobody
Yeah,
would
he goes.
care nowadays. There wouldn't be this big audience of, aha, you're baiting gay guys. That's not kind of gay. No,
Yeah,
like
he goes.
that would be the reaction. Even if you were anti-gay, you would be like, oh, well, you're just kind of you're gay too, because what are you doing in this
Well,
man's truck?
yeah, and he's also not doing anything other than that. Ha, gay. You know, like that's the whole
Yeah.
thing. Like it's not like he catches them doing anything. He's just like, "Hey, check this guy out. He wanted to suck my penis." You know, so it's just like, "All right, go-
None of it
cool,
is thought
great."
out. And honestly, the one with the priests is probably the best put together or thought out or executed of these shorts that are in the movie. And it still is really horrible.
It's
Like,
still
even
really
for
bad.
if this was a YouTube horror short that some random person put out, it wouldn't make a difference. It would be perceived just as bad. There's nothing really. I wouldn't even have been as generous as you were in saying Ralph Garman's performance was good. I mean, he
Yeah, no,
doesn't.
he's
I don't know what he. Who does he play on Family
cartoon.
Guy? What does he do?
Oh, does he? I don't even know who he is. I thought he was like a podcast guy, friends of him.
He is.
Uh,
He used to work for an LA radio station where he was basically the Jim Norton of some daytime show. And that's how he met Seth MacFarlane. Seth MacFarlane cast him on Family Guy as a major character.
no, I think he's just like a random voice guy. It says Mex Boss, 18th producer, announcer. So I guess he just does
Okay,
like
all right. So
whatever
he does an
voices they
assortment of
do.
voices on Family Guy. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm mistaken then.
Yeah, waiter, fat actor, lifeguard. Yeah, police officer. So I guess yeah, just assorted voices. I the fuck, it's difficult to even criticize this movie because it doesn't even feel like a movie. Well, it's not, let's say, but because every short is so nonsensical and disconnected, and it doesn't follow any rules for you to hold on to or to grab onto anything. So the priest thing, he comes back, and the part where I guess having a problem connecting with this short, not well with every other one, with this one in particular, is because it's not brave enough to play it as a joke, right? Like this is billed as a horror comedy, or at least that's what the internet thinks it is. So if you're gonna have this priest character be a gross molester, which is what he is, he's not gross enough for us to be disgusted by him, other than what we know he's doing or has done, right?
Yeah.
The things he says, the actions are not gross enough for us to think anything other than, oh fuck, a gross molester. But so the envelope is not pushed there for us to make us feel anything other than what you feel when you know that's going to happen. But again, it's very like mid, very like not surface level. It's also not played as a joke. So then it's like, okay, so he's a cartoony molester priest, but he's not cartoony in a funny way, and he's not cartoony in a horror way. He's just cartoony. And then the things he says are things like, I know what you're thinking. How could God let this happen? But you know, if God was real, he would not let this happen. And he's on this monologue trying to, I guess, convince himself. I don't know what the goal of this monologue is because it's nonsensical. To two children that don't speak the language, right? So then it's all just him getting off with himself speaking nonsense, but none of that nonsense is rough enough, even though he's supposedly wasted. So then it's like, okay, what am I supposed to feel with this short? Or what am I supposed to feel with this 10 minutes of a scene that you're showing me where I'm bored by the molester, where I'm not even like hating the priest? I'm just kind of like, can you shut the fuck up and move on because this is boring and it
Hmm.
sucks, you know? And I think that's a perfect a representation of what the short of what the movie is. It's a lot of just like, oh my fucking god, okay, can we speed this up? Can we, is there anything that's going to happen? Is there, am I supposed to care about any of this? And no, I don't think
It's
if
such an
Kevin didn't.
indictment that you said, can we speed this up for a 64-minute
Yeah,
movie?
yeah,
Again, this is
yeah.
technically, it's a feature film. A
Hmm.
feature film, according to the Academy ruling, is something over about 52 minutes. Now, personally, I think over an hour, you have the runtime over an hour and 4 minutes, an hour and 2 minutes. That's a feature length film. You can put that in theaters, okay? And this is about that. This is about an hour and 4 minutes. It's a rough go. It is a very, very rough go. And I think any Kevin Smith fan is probably better without it.
Hmm.
Even if you're a
Yeah.
completist, because it's going to make you reconsider all of the nice things you've said about this man's work and artistry and career. It's because you can see this movie and Clerks 3 both completed in the same year, and there's a monumental difference between the. And you didn't like Clerks 3. Do you
No.
think that these two are on the same level?
No. Well, one
Okay.
is a movie, and
Well, this
one
is a
has.
movie. No, this is a movie. He sold it. It was released, although through unconventional means, $5,000, something like that, to get your hands on this film. 5,000. Maybe I don't think I'm exaggerating. I think it was about anywhere between 1,500 to 5,000. I think it was somewhere around that, depending on what package you bought. Okay, it's feature length. He shot it with actors. You know, if this was like what would have been forgivable is just put it out as and people wouldn't have bought this. People wouldn't have bought the
Yeah.
NFTs if it was a collection of shorts. That doesn't sound as good as a feature. And I think that maybe was the original intention. Like, oh, you buy this Kilroy NFT, you get this short film. But then he realized, oh, that's not going to have the spice I need to actually make these sales. Because no one gives a fuck about short films.
Yeah. Yeah. Clerks 3 is a movie. I think Clerks 3 you can play for anyone and they will recognize it as a movie. This feels like a collection of unfinished shorts
Mm-hmm.
that someone put out. Someone that has no experience, someone that just decided to put their movie out on Tubi. So hopefully someone will watch it and look forward to their next movie, where they will probably be a little better, but not that much better because they don't really care about getting better. They just want to put stuff out there. This does not feel like a movie that was put out by a veteran of almost 30 years, if
No.
not. Has it been 30 years already since Clerks? Probably 94, right?
Uh huh. Yeah.
30
Yeah,
years.
it's been
A
30
30
years.
year So a 30-year veteran puts out something like this. I think this is, let me think. Is this the worst release by an established director?
I've been thinking about that.
Because we have the Ferraras, we have the the fuck, what's his fucking name? I always forget. Taxi driver guy. Um
Scorsese? Paul
No,
Schrader.
no, no. The Schrader. We have the Schraders, right? Where the last ones, maybe not so great. You have the Coppola,
Every
kind of.
talented director, no matter what, seems to go through. If they put out a consistent stream of movies, then they will have ebbs and flows of this movie isn't great. And maybe it's not even his fault. Maybe it's the distribution. Maybe it's the company. They tampered with it. Something like, the other movie I was thinking of was Domino from Brian De
Yeah.
Palma. That was really bad. That was really bad, but it wasn't entirely De Palma's fault. I think it was probably three-quarters his fault. But you have a ton of movies that you could cite as the worst movie of a director's filmography, and it usually takes place around, not really around this time, but
Mm.
close. It's usually
Yeah.
when they hit their 60s and they're adapting to new technology and new things that they have available to them. Or maybe they have to go to Italy. Maybe they have to go to Europe and get money through some other means. Like there's a lot of forgettable Woody Allen movies, like Rifkin's Festival and shit like that, that came about as a result of that. Although they're not bad the way that this is bad. So I think from an established director, there's a very good case to be made for Kilroy is here as the worst release put out by somebody of note.
Yeah. And
What's close?
I think a big reason for that is that I don't think any distributor will be willing to put something like this out, um, because his name is not hot enough right now to take advantage of it, and because it doesn't feel like a finished movie. So there was no other way for him to make money with this other than taking advantage of his audience. Let's be real.
Yeah.
Because I don't think anyone would have paid anything for this, especially after how his track record of movies has not been great, especially money making, uh, for his last movies. So yeah, this was this was a scam. Let's call it what it is. He pranked his audience and took advantage of him, took his money, laughed it out. I don't know if he's getting any backlash. He should be getting backlash because this is kind of gross. But I think it's not uncharacteristic of Kevin Smith now. I would never say the Clerks 2 Kevin Smith would do something like this because I think he still cared back then. Like he still had it in him and he still had passion for this shit. I can't imagine that Kevin Smith doing that now, where he did that thing with the He-Man cartoon where he lied to his audience so that people would watch it, and then the thing was completely opposite to what he said it was. That's kind of gross, but that's still not as gross as this one because at least it was on Netflix. So it's like just don't watch it. This goes directly to your audience. They're directly handing you over money, and that's the effort. It Yeah, I don't know. It's very that's what you've become from indie darling, from I'm gonna work in this fucking convenience store so that I can make $5,000 or however long and make the movie that I want to make and tell the story that I want to tell, to fuck you, who gives a shit about this thing? Let's take advantage of my retarded audience that would pay for any fucking shit that I put out. And that's what this movie is, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean it's tough to argue that. I don't even necessarily agree that he, depending on what the starting price was for the NFT, right? If it was something like $1,000, even 75 people bought the NFTs, 75 grand. That's not a lot for Kevin Smith, especially when it comes to selling a movie. I can tell you, Clerks 3, when he sold it to Saban Films, probably got him his entire budget back.
Mm-hmm.
So he could have absolutely sold this to, and you're telling me Tubi wouldn't have acquired it as a Tubi original film? And I'm not talking about like the deal that some random person shooting a backyard movie, Hoochie Daddies season 1 at Tubi. No, we're not talking about that, where you get $50 in exchange for giving them your movie or series. He could have absolutely sold it to one of these lower scale distribution venues for the same amount of money, but they would have made him do more work on it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that might have actually been the thing. I don't think he was interested in continuing to do anything with Kilroy. I think his heart was in Clerks 3 and doing real movies, right? Doing sentimental shit, and this was just a burden to him. I could only assume that. I could only ever assume that because the type of care the lack of care rather that's put into this, you only do with a project you hate, because you're basically willing to take a bump on your perception as a director. And obviously, he is very self deprecating. He talks himself down as a director all the time. It's a crutch for him. It's quite annoying, actually.
Yeah.
And
30 years, you can't use that excuse anymore. You've been making movies for 30 years. It's like, oh, I still don't know how to frame it. Ooh, I don't know what a lens is. Like, shut the fuck up. 30 years, shut up. It's not cute anymore. It's like, all right, when are you gonna learn then? Shit.
But you're taking a certain kind of dent in your resume as a director that is always going to be a blemish. It's not going to be something that can just be scrubbed away, or you can correct, or you can blame on the studio, or, oh, we didn't have enough time to do this. Well, you had plenty of time. You had about 5 years to put together this anthology and figure out what your approach was going to be with it, instead of being so passive about how you were going to assemble the film and ultimately put it out. So I think he hates this. I could only assume he hates this. And that is another reason why it went the route that it did. He knew it was not something that could be released, but he got enough famous people in it, and he knew that there was an upside to putting it out, to showcasing it in spite of how bad it is. And he did that. I don't want to be cynical enough to think, oh yeah, I'm going to scam my fans today, and that's his mentality. I think he had to jump through some hoops in his own brain to think, okay, this is how we can put it out. Because I don't think there would be a longer track record if he was comfortable with the notion of scam artistry. People will show you right up front that they're totally down with doing that. It's not something you develop 50 years into your life. It's something that comes up before. And I think it's really just that. I think he took this convenience to get rid of a bad movie that he didn't like, that he didn't want to work on anymore, that he didn't want to have to go do a press tour for, by putting it out through an actual studio and putting on Blu-ray, da-da-da-da-da. And there was money to be had in it. So I agree with your analysis here of what he did, but I don't think that the reasoning is 100% in the boat of that, so much as he's lying to himself.
Well, he wanted to get rid of it, but then he said, oh, I can make money out of this.
Instead of burning it, he scammed people.
Yeah.
And he told himself, well, it's better to be seen than not seen. And hey, if I get 70 grand from it, that's 70 grand in my pocket. I did this thing. And look, that's his right. No one says you have to charge fucking $2 like whatever. So we're using the term scam here. No, actually, no, this is different, because the whole premise of the NFT thing is this will be worth something someday. This is going to be worth more money. Just you wait. You're probably making a good, I can't promise, but you're probably making a good investment. That is the premise of all the NFT shit. So.
Yeah. And do you think it's just a boomer that didn't understand the technology, and it was just like, what do we have that's unfinished that the fans would like to have just as a completion type of thing? And you know what? If it was presented that way, if it was presented like, and you're purchasing the archives of short films that were never released that we shot, perfect. Like, that would be an honest way of presenting something. And you know what? I'm sure his fans would be interested in something like that, in supporting something like that, because they will be curious about like behind the scenes, or, oh, who shows up here? Is it the comic book guys from the store, but they're young? And you know what I mean? Like, present it that way then. But presenting it as like, this is a movie, this is a horror movie that I really wanted to shoot, and sell it as like, this is something that you actually gave a fuck about. That's the part that I think is gross, because you watch it, there's no one that gave a fuck about that thing. And you can tell, so the fact that he didn't present it as like, just get a behind the scenes thing, and instead was presented as a movie, is the part that I find gross, because you're not being honest with what you're selling. And I mean, your audience is not going to really, or it might turn, but I just think it's, just.
Well, here's the thing too, and this is another reason why I don't think the short film aspect of it would have worked, is the audience would have been clued into that. First of all, let's just say right up front, I said this maybe about 30 minutes ago, selling short films, even if you're an auteur, even if you're a named director and people have an admiration for your work, they're not interested. It's just not a medium that interests people. You know, you'd have to really knock it out of the park with whatever short you did in a way that's never been seen before for people to take it seriously and think of it in the same way as a feature film, you know? So that was never going to be a marketable approach. And he puts out so much stuff. It kind of just seems like he's gotten into the habit as well through his many podcasts and his whole empire of shows of not marinating on ideas for very long. He doesn't want to keep the ideas and then utilize them in other things, like building them up into feature films. The closest thing to that is something came to mind during a podcast and it turned into Tusk, you know?
Well, because that takes work, right? Developing things takes work.
Yeah.
And instead of that, he can just put the idea out there and just be like, yeah, that's okay. Well, that's it.
And this return to, I'm going to do Clerks 3. I'm going to work on Mallrats 2. I'm going to come up with Chasing Amy 2. Doing that sort of thing. I got a new Jay and Silent Bob. I think it's literally just, you do so many podcasts, you're not holding on to new ideas. Like, you're just speaking them and then they disappear. And so the thing that becomes most obvious is, oh, we got to go back to the source. So Kevin Smith, I have to assume he knows this is a horrible movie. It feels unfinished. It's completely unreleasable. We've said everything we need to say about the film. Yeah. I'll still go see his next movie because this came before Clerks 2, at least in my head. So yeah. You'll see it for this show, and that's probably about the only likelihood.
Yeah.
The 4:30 movie coming out this summer, I think.
Is that about weed? Great.
No. We said this on the last show. He quit weed. So we'll get a new Kevin Smith with this movie.
Yeah, scumbag Kevin.
I would prefer scumbag Kevin over hey weed Kevin.
Yeah.
Stoner Kevin. All right. That has been our Patreon exclusive for the time being. Go sign up for the not $5 tier, but the $100 tier and make us watch Kilroy's Here again to torture Hans. I fully encourage that. Yeah. All right. That has been
stream it.
Yeah. No. We would not be able to keep up a whole live stream on Kilroy's Here as the topic. Maybe because no one has seen it. Nobody has any input on it. They're just going off of our word. So anyway, patreon.com/Lores, $5 tier gets you all these exclusive video episodes and more. $100 tier lets you pick the theme of a show. That has been Movies for this week. Thank you for listening.